let's go ahead and get things started with issue 1 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And what I've done here, Mike, is we don't have the entire issue, but we have the beats, the main beats that we're going to cover, the art to show off as we go through it. And you might think, okay, this is a Supergirl story. So Supergirl is going to be our main character. And while she is one of our main characters, she's not even our narrator here. Our narrator is a girl by the name of, I will tell you, when I read it the first time, I thought was just Ruth. It's Ruthyye. Where is it at? It's on here somewhere. She introduces herself later. Essentially, it's either Ruthie or Ruthie is how you say her name. I'm going to call her Ruthie. So Ruthie is our narrator for this story, and she is essentially our main character, with Supergirl also being one of them through this. Like I told you, it's kind of true grit and space, and you'll see why here as we get into it. As we start the story, Ruthie is telling us of how a man by the name of Krim from the Yellow Hills killed her father. They suspected him to be a King's agent, that he had come to their rock farm. They're just lowly rock farmers, which if you wonder, rock farm, yeah, they just grow rocks. Like from little pebbles, it's brought through the story, like from little pebbles up into giant boulders and stuff. Like the planet they live on, they grow rocks. Well, not here, but on their planet it does.
Okay,
but they're rock farmers.
All right.
I'm
willing to let that one go. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. This Krim of the Yellow Hills had come to seek shelter, and they thought that he had been like a King's agent, which essentially, go around seeing how people feel about the king. And if they have a negative attitude, well, they either deal with him or, let the king know, and they deal with people who talk bad about the king. Anyway, it's believed that they kind of get into an argument out in the fields one day, and I'm kind of paraphrasing all this from when we get to, and Krim ends up killing her father and just leaves him there dead. She's kind of perplexed by the fact that he didn't even retrieve his sword from it, and she could just easily just like take it back out. But this girl, Ruthie, her world has kind of changed forever. Her father has now been killed. She's the youngest of, I believe, 6 kids, but like out of all of them, to her, like her father was everything in a way. So she feels like something needs to be done. Her brothers, while they are talking over it one night of, hey, what should we do? Should we hunt down Krim? No. We'll let the divine deal with it. Yeah. We have far too much to worry about here. Like we'll let the divine deal with what we're doing. Ruthie doesn't like that idea and decides she's going to seek vengeance herself, if not by either hiring somebody to go and kill Krim of the Yellow Hills and for murdering her father. So she leaves, and some of these I left in to get some fantastic art in there too. Clayton Cowles, a letter or two I should throw in there, but yeah, Evelyn Lopes did the cover as well, but we have our previews there. But some of this, unfortunately, this beast that she rides isn't brought up again, but it's just a fantastic looking thing.
So I was going to say, like, it one of the things that over the years that makes, and I make these, I don't know if you know this, but I make these judgments real quick on things. In space, coming up with new animals and new creatures like that is a true art form. It's because I have a hard time looking at one of these things and not going, oh, it's just a horse with a pair of ears on it or something, or whatever. And I think that Star Wars did that to us because they put out some gross stuff as far as creatures go. And it's because they're stretched so thin at this point, and so everything starts to kind of look at the same and stuff. This is an original looking animal. Now you can see influences of horse, of maybe a yak, maybe those kind of larger hooved animals. But it looks unique enough for me to think that it is on another planet, if that makes sense. Yeah,
it's great. And we will get into
definitely a compliment,
because there is a lot of space travel in this story of hopping from planet to planet. And that was the beauty of it too. Like you brought up, like each planet has different, like life form there looks different, but it was great to see like all the different, people from that inhabited each planet and just the way they were drawn and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Yeah. So Ruthie travels into town in search to find somebody who can help her avenge her father's death by killing Crim of the Yellow Hills. And she meets this kind of bounty hunter who she tells her, like, hey, my name is Ruthie Marie Knoll. And she, Crim of the Yellow Hills killed my father. I'm looking for somebody to, go and kill him. This sword I'm using, it's a very fine sword. It's the sword that Crim ended up leaving. But it's a very fine sword. You can use it as payment for, a job well done. And the barbarian, or this bounty hunter here, just simply tells her, like, don't worry about it. I'll go ahead and take care of your Crim of the Yellow Hills guy, and I'll go ahead and take the sword now as payment, and you can just go back home and know that everything's been taken care of. And Ruthie's like, I don't really like the way that this transaction's working out. And the bounty hunter just backhands her to the floor. And he's like, you're a kid. I told you I'm going to do this. Don't worry. I've got your man. You can just go back home and live the rest of your life knowing that it's taken care of.
God, he's so big.
He is. As he goes to leave, he's stopped by a woman who is just drinking in the corner. And she grabs the sword and essentially tells him, no. You can't do that. That's not yours. And the bounty hunter essentially is, taken aback by this. And he's like, what do you mean? If I have to take care of you the same way I do her, like I will. But little does he know that this girl here is actually Supergirl. The two of them get into a fight, and like he's sitting there just mouthing the whole time of like, I refuse to lose to a woman, as the last words out of his mouth, as she's stolen the sword back, and he has the she has the other one there at his throat. And as you can see there, Mike, Crypto back there in the background too. As Crypto's there with her. So we're going to find out a little bit more, but I'll explain to you what she's doing here. Because Supergirl is actually acting like she is, there's a part during the battle where she grabs the sword blade to like stop him from swinging it at her, and she starts bleeding. And you're thinking to yourself, well, this is Supergirl. Why is Superman doesn't bleed? Well, the planet that Ruthie lives on has a red sun. So she has, it doesn't affect her like ours. So she's just normal under the red sun. And we come to find out that Supergirl has purposely flown to a planet with a red sun so she can get drunk for her 21st birthday.
Oh.
She's like, I'm going, like, it's not, doesn't affect me anywhere else. I'm just going to go be by myself and party it up. I say party it up, but I'm going to go drink by myself in a place where I can actually feel the effects of it. And so by doing so, it's also affected her other powers, though. She's not as strong. She's not as invulnerable to things, but that's why she's there. We get to see then immediately the next morning she wakes up, and I do love this part, and we're far enough into the episode that I know that YouTube won't demonetize it, or I'll edit if it comes to it. But she just wakes up because it is a little, like, it has the wingdings. Some of the cursing gets through depending on what it is. But I just love this part because she just wakes up and she's just like, you can tell she's hungover, and it's just like a fuck. And Ruthie, who's sitting there, who was kind of, you get this sense of like, there's a difference between their two lifestyles in a way, of her being from this town and Supergirl not. And Ruthie goes, you speak often of this fuck, especially when you're in agony, or when your agony becomes acute. Is this your husband? Like, she's trying to figure out, like, how the way she's talking.
That's funny. Like that's actually really well done. That's really good. Yeah.
So like, that's the thing too, is if you're looking for differences so far, to cut it off, Supergirl is kind of like a foul mouth Superman. Like she lets her emotions show at times. She still is just as much, as we'll come to see, very much so, especially by the end of this episode. Like very much in the same vein as Superman, but she's a little more colorful in the way she is. Like there's this point where like we realized she was wearing her costume like underneath all that stuff. She was just trying to blend in the corner over there. And like, she's sick obviously from everything that happens, but Ruthie tells her like, you're easily the strongest, like best warrior I've ever seen. I need you to like avenge my father's death. Like, my name is Ruthie Marie Knoll, and I am witness, to your skill and bravery. I would like to hire you to kill Crim of the Yellow Hills. and they have this moment. Oh, I don't have it in there, and it's great because they have this moment where she like Supergirl gives her this look before giving her an answer, and the next panel is her just hurling into the bucket again, like without giving her an answer. Supergirl essentially tells her like, hey, I tell you, like, I have another job that's off planet. I'm assuming referring to stuff on Earth. Like, that's the things it's not, we don't get into it, but she's like, I have other stuff that I have to attend to. Like, I was here for my birthday. Like, I'm sorry, but you shouldn't kill people. Killing's bad. Like, you wanting to go hunt this guy down, probably not a good thing to do, but I wish you the best, and I hope that you can find some peace. And she kind of like leaves Ruthie, and she paddles like back through this rowboat. They come to like this lake. And she paddles away with Crypto on this rowboat, and Ruthie just kind of stares off. In the art, again, it doesn't matter what it is, even it's gorgeous throughout the entire series, even down to Ruthie's purple eyes. I love it on all of it. And she's just staring off, and she has this like thought in her head of like, it has to be Supergirl that helps me with all this. So she dives into the water to swim after her. And we find out like there's like piranha like creatures in the water and stuff too. So she's like swimming through all of this dangerous stuff because to her, it has to be Supergirl that is the person she hires. Like, she's the only one who can do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she shows up, and she sees, Ruthie does, when she finally comes across the other side of the water, she sees this giant like spaceship, and she has no clue what this giant mechanical thing is. Because again, this is a more like primitive planet that they're on. They're rock farmers, for goodness sake.
Hey, just real quick, I'm sorry. I really was not trying to be rude here, but I got on my phone because this art reminded me of something. And honestly, it's the Silver Surfer Mobius stuff. The art is very similar. Like it just feels the same. Like the line weight is the same. The use of pastels and things like that. It's just it really reminds me, and that is one of my all-time favorite series right there.
I would think you'd have to love that then, because you're a big Mobius Surfer fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love that one. And this art just totally reminds me of that. She has done. I'm just floored by this. So much so that while you were talking, I sent her a request and asked her for an interview. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm telling you, it's everything she puts out is just absolutely gorgeous.
I would like to know what her influences are. You know, like, is Mobius like one of those influences of yours and things like that? So that would be very, very interesting. Anyway, not funny, but very interesting.
No, again, well, I mean, we aren't always funny. Sometimes we are interesting. We talk to
a lot of people will say we're never funny, but sure.
That's true. We got to talk to Reed Tucker about, some of the stuff that going on at DC and Marvel back in the 70s and 80s. That was fun. I expect us to do more interviews in the future too. So, I mean, at some point in time, we're going to, I can tell you another book, and I'll tease it a little bit, Mike. I got to read, there is, we haven't done anything by him, but the guy's name is Daniel Warren Johnson. Okay. And he did a book. I can't remember if it's for Boom or for Image. I read it. I'll have to look. It might've been Dark Horse. It wasn't for one of the big ones, but it's just a 7-issue series. And it's about wrestling. It's a wrestling it is so good. Like, at one point in time, like, it involves a necromancer. Like, they're in a wrestling tournament and they wrestle people from other planets, with the prize being to be able to bring somebody back from the dead. It is so good. It is so good.
I'm all in. Yeah, I'm all in on that. That sounds cool.
He not only wrote it, but he also drew it and colored it too. He's responsible for one of my favorite like Superman stories in the past 5 years that we haven't covered, because I bawl like a baby every time I read it. Even thinking about it now, but it's and he has a Wonder Woman story, Dead Earth, that we'll get to too. But like, there's stuff like that we're going to get to that's just going to be interesting and good. And like, I'm going to cover, and this is one of them. And it's just absolutely gorgeous through all of it. But
one more thing, and then I'll let you get back to your storytelling. But also last week we talked to your friend Craig. You know who I'm talking about when I say Craig? About a wrestling show. So we'll see.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. We'll see how that works.
I mean, he's an
it'd be fun. Guy. It'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be fun.
He's really, he knows what he's talking about.
Might see a different side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
in talking to him, he just wants to do other things.
I love how like Mike and I are having a conversation between the two of us for just like
all of you know it, Craig.
Everybody else is just fine. Yeah, and they're just like, I hope so too. Like, huh? Like we may never talk about this again. But so Ruthie comes across Supergirl in her spaceship, who is getting ready to leave the planet, and like Supergirl drops the stairs down, and she
I don't
comes
see a
to
lot
her.
of stairs on spaceships.
No, you don't.
Usually,
But
it's like
I
this
like it.
slick thing that they walk down. Yeah, no, this makes way more sense to me.
Oh, for sure. And excuse me, I like that. Like Ruthie is just still taken aback by like, what is this thing that I'm looking at? While Supergirl's talking to her, like,
Yep.
hey, like this is like a giant horse that I ride in, and when it takes off, it bucks really hard. So you like might want to be out of the way. Like she's trying to explain it and tell her like you need to go. And Ruthie's just sitting there, and Ruthie, she's just like, I'm
Girl is so
sorry.
small.
She is, but she's like, I've got to go, and you do too. And Ruthie goes, like, she pauses for a moment and again holds out the sword and goes, my name is Ruthie Marie Knoll. I would like to hire you. Like, she's still like, she is determined for it to be Supergirl. Well, while they're doing this, they have taken a little bit too much time. And well, there is this part. I will add this, that they do a really good job. I'll leave it on here too. They do a really good job of teasing. Is like Supergirl tells her, like, I know you're going through a lot. And Ruthie goes, you know, I'm going through a lot. Like, you don't know anything. Like, I lost my dad. I lost my whole world. Like, you don't know anything about that. Yeah. And like, there's our yellow boxes there, the narrator. And she's like, I would soon come to find out how much she really did know about all that. Like, this is her like telling the story as we go. And she's like, you know, I didn't know that my words would hurt her as much as they did, like how much she had been through. And that's like, she has this moment and she's just like, you know, overcome with emotion, and she's cursing again. And she's like, I came here for my birthday, so I wouldn't have to think about any of this. Like, she's just kind of like overcome with emotion. And about that time, she takes an arrow straight to the chest. And Ruthie turns to look, and we see that good old Crim of the Yellow Hills, that bounty hunter that she was going to get to help. Well, since he got embarrassed, he decided to go tell Crim, hey, this little girl's trying to pay people to have you killed. So Crim's like, well, I'll go ahead and help her out then. I'll go hunt her down, take care of her, and just be done with it. Well, they go to shoot Supergirl a second time, and Crypto, being man's best friend like he is, and the best damn dog you could ever have, a super dog, takes off charging after him and like lunges at him and gets hit with the arrow, and it wounds Crypto. And that's enough to just piss off Supergirl, to which she picks herself up and she just starts marching towards them. And then like she's hitting the chest with another arrow, and she's still just walking towards them. And she's like, swords and arrows? Do you even know who I am? I'm Supergirl. Do you think I give a shit about swords and arrows? And you see her just like grab the blade as she's just sitting there just bleeding from it. Like, I'm telling you, the Supergirl's a badass. Yeah. Like a good kind of badass, as you'll see. And she's enraged, obviously, because you don't mess with Crypto. Well, she ends up beating up the other bounty hunter that she beat before, and Crim, noticing, oh no, that's going to be me next if I don't do anything, takes off running towards the ship. And as he takes off running towards the ship, Ruthie tries to stop him, and he just kind of kicks her to the side, hops up on the ship, and Crim of the Yellow Hills ends up stealing Supergirl's ship and takes off from Ruthie's planet, as Ruthie is bucked away by the giant metal horse. And
man, she is not just bucked away, she is chunked.
Thrown.
Look at her. I mean, she just like
and she is left there along with a wounded Crypto and wounded Supergirl. And that ends issue 1 of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about Frozen heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.